welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd give you an update here. I got all the wood in for the big guy. I thought I was done with wood and cutting and processing wood for this year, but I am not, and I'll show you why. I've got my rice coal in for the winter to heat my shop with because that's usually how I do it. But this year, I was absolutely dumbfounded. 2 tons of rice coal this year cost me $100 more than 3 tons cost me last year, which is usually what I burn. It's really nice to have this rice coal stove running in here because it runs at a temperature. It just runs constantly. I put a bag in it a day and it does what I need it to do, and it heated my shop great, but it's getting to the point where I can't afford the rice coal. So, like I said, I thought I was done processing wood for this year, but obviously I am not. So I have set up these pallets outside my shop, and I've started processing more firewood. I am going to run this firewood through my wood chuck, which right now is buried behind my truck door for the Ram and a bunch of other stuff, but it's in here. I promised some people that I would do a video of this stove and all that. So I have to maintenance this stove. I have to get everything ready and start working on getting this thing up and running. I have to clean the stack up here. I've got to get everything out away from this. So this will be its own video as I promised. Now my plan is to burn the rice coal for probably November. And then after I get the rice coal that I need out of here, I'm going to stack wood in here as well. So I'm going to burn this stove probably for the month of November. Then the 1st of December, I'm going to fire up the wood stove. And I got to do some checking. I have not used this wood stove to actually heat my shop ever. I mean, I would supplement with it, but I never used it to actually heat the shop on a regular basis. Now this stove is just like the big guy down there. It has an air injector here. It has a thermostat here. I'm hoping that I can do this just like I do with my big stove and maybe load it twice a day and keep my shop at 45 to 50 degrees. So I have to do some experimentation with this and see how this works. But because of the cost of rice coal going up, I am going to give it a shot this year for a month or so and see how much wood I actually need to heat the shop with this, and we'll see. So what the plan is in the future, I have this stove. This is an apartment stove. It is a gas stove. So I am going to make a video of running the gas line out here and putting this stove in place of this one, and be able to use the gas stove for the warmer months of the year like November and maybe March and April, and then be able to supplement the shop on gas somewhat, so that as I'm burning wood over here, if I need to come out and really warm it up, I can kick the gas on and have it help. Because I can't believe that gas is going to cost me what this rice coal is going to cost me to operate. That's the plan. And I haven't done any wood processing videos since I actually did my Wood for the Monster video a couple, 3 years ago. So we're going to do a little wood processing, and I'm going to video that. And we're going to fill these pallets up. This is going to be roughly, I do believe, about 6 cord of wood. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to need more. But like I say, I don't know. I'm going to have to kind of fly by the seat of my pants and see how this works. I do have 2 tons of coal to burn this year, as well as a few bags left over from last year, but I'm going to try and get away from it because it's just getting so expensive. I just can't afford it. It's like everything else. Food's gone up, everything's gone up, inflation's rampant, so you know, we got to do what we got to do, and I think the wood is going to be the way to go because I get my wood for free. and all I have to do is process it. So let's go do that. 91's running. Got my saws gassed up and ready to go. This is a Husqvarna 395, of which I have one. I lucked out. I bought this from a logger guy for like 300 bucks, and it runs terrific. It's got a 24-inch bar on it. This is my 365. This saw I bought in 2000, and this saw has cut thousands of cord of wood. And this is what I call 365-1, because I like this saw so much I bought another one. So I have two of these 365s, and the other one is in the shop, and it's 365-2. But I didn't figure I needed it today because I only got to cut up about 3 logs. So let's get cracking. Some of these logs could have metal in them, so I always use my metal detector first. Alright, they're all good. Next, 18 inches. That's about what fits in my stove in the shop. I don't want to go any bigger than that, and I split this down a little finer than I split down the stuff for the big stove. So. This log is pretty dirty right here. All these logs are dragged out with skidder. Some of them don't get washed for some reason, but most of them, they actually wash these logs off and take all the dirt off. So go figure. That one wasn't. So I'm gonna go get my wire brush. Alright, I know that a lot of people can't process wood the way I do. My whole situation has been that we have heated with wood for probably 30 years. And when I decided that I was going to go into business with my equipment, I decided that I would set the equipment up as I could afford it to also process my wood, which has been a godsend. It's been a very big blessing to me. So I understand that a lot of people can't do it this way, but if you have equipment, please set it up this way and do it this way, because it makes an old man's job a lot easier. Now, I don't know how other saws work, but these Husqvarna are excellent saws, and the way that you start these is this is the choke, and when they're cold, 99% of the time I pull this saw 6 times and it runs. When they're warm like they are now, you pull the choke out and you push it in, and what that does is it sets it up on high idle. You turn it on, hit the compression, and you pull it once and it's running. And when you hit the trigger, it brings it back down to idle. I've cut a lot of wood with these saws, and I cut 40, probably this year I'll be cutting 40 cord of wood. So what I have to do is rely on these guys to do the job. They have to start, they have to run. I keep them in excellent top running condition, because when I call on them, they have to work, as you've seen. So anyway, that's the end of the cutting part of it. Now we got to get out the skid steer and the splitters on it, and we got to split this and stack it. Alright, this is load 1. Now, usually when I'm doing this for my other stove, I usually split this up a lot bigger than this stuff is. But I'm with Squatch. My shop stove is smaller, and I have to carry this further to actually put it in. I may have to do some restacking, so it doesn't bother me that this is a lot smaller. Now I do have some pieces that are a little bigger like this guy, but that's okay too, because my stove will take 26-inch wood out there, and sometimes you want a little bit of what we always called night oil. So sometimes you just want a little night oil, and the bigger stuff is good for that. Anyway, we're done here. This is load 1. I don't think that I'll probably actually film all this, because it's not like you haven't seen it before if you have watched my Wood for the Monster video, but it's just kind of a little different application, so I thought some people might be interested. So anyway, let's get this unloaded. Now I'm kind of lucky because we have a little bit of bonus weather here. It's right at the end of October, and I noticed you saw this morning that everything was frostier and frost, so we're kind of getting some bonus weather here to get this done. So. The other nice thing about doing it this way and splitting into the RTV is the fact that most of the time I have some tailings, I call them, that lay over there, but not many. Most of them come into this, and then I have a place up back I dump them, and a couple times a year we burn them. Now these are the tailings, and instead of being in my wood lot over there, they're in this. Come on, I'll show you what I do. Before I take my tailings, this is our burn pile over here. And we keep burning things here all the time, so anyway, I dump it all here. I'll show you. There's a few tailings here, but nothing like you'd have if you used a hand splitter. You'd have to pick all this up and rake it all out, because all this wood goes down into the ground and rots and turns to mud. That's exactly what it does, so I keep it cleaned up. This is the whole pile that I've got so far from this whole job, and this will get shoveled onto the RTV and get it out of here. So let's get load 2 down. Okay, this is load 2. Now what was here before we actually started doing anything here this morning was about 5 loads. got one row to go. So let's go split that. All right, that one's done. This is load 3. I think we're gonna have enough, I think. Okay, unloading load 3. Looks like we're gonna need probably about 2 more loads, I'm thinking. All right, this is load 5 right here. And I think it's just gonna fill my shed nice. I got a few stragglers here to pick up. I thought I would mention this again. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. This splitter is a 26-inch splitter. I've been using it now for probably around 5 years. And it just keeps working. Front mounted inverted splitter. And you can see that basically I have onboard hydraulics that are accentuated on the lever here. They also make a 32-inch length. This is made by Quick Attach, not a sponsor. This here is the new style skid steer mount. This plate here is the one that adapts from the new style to my old style. My old style is what they call universal. Now they call this universal. So anyway, when I bought this splitter, I had to buy this plate with it in order to get it to function. And you can see here, if you want to disattach it, you pull up on these sides here and you can take it off this plate. In other words, you can leave the plate on the skid steer, take this off, and this skid steer is now adapted to run basically anything. But I thought I'd mention that. Now I know a lot of people don't have the means to split their wood this way. If you have equipment, like I said before, it might be a good thing to think about. With the price of coal going up and with the price of gas going up, wood's going to become invaluable as a heating source. And I've been doing it, like I said, for 30 years or better, and it's working out well for me. So anyway, we are done with the splitter. We are done with the skid steer. Let's go up and get this unloaded and finish this job up. This is load 5 done, and in all my time, I have never actually called it exactly right, but I did here. I think this is a first. Now, one thing I wanted to mention here, I don't know if you can see this or not. This is cherry. And what I have found about the cherry and the lore associated with it is that there is a town not too far from us called Kane, Pennsylvania. And I am under the impression, and maybe you guys can help me out with this, that this cherry wood only grows within a 100-mile radius of that city and in the Black Forest in Germany. I don't know if anybody in Michigan or Wisconsin or Ohio, if you have cherry trees, I just don't know, but I've heard that that is the only place they grow. And one of the reasons why I get a lot of this is because of this. This is called red rot. This stuff here is a nasty, I don't know exactly what it is that gets into this, but if it gets into this wood, they can't use it. This is a perfect example of it here. You can see that this stuff just peels off and it gets punky and wet. And it's no good for making furniture or anything else out of. It's just gone. So anyway, I thought I'd pass that along to you guys and see if anybody might be able to help me out with that. That is what I've heard all my life, that is where it grows, in the Black Forest in Germany and within a 100-mile radius of Kane, Pennsylvania. Now this stuff here is ash, and this is the stuff that the ash borer is after. Now I've seen signs that this stuff is starting to beat the ash borer, but around here they are cutting this down. So I get a lot of ash, I get a lot of maple, I get a lot of cherry, and I get a lot of oak. So anyway, I'm hopeful that our ash trees are going to make it. So anyway, we are done with this project. I think, according to everything I see here in my measurements, I've got 4 skids, and they're approximately a little over 5 feet high. So I'm thinking I probably have about 5 cord here, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. All right, I got my tarp on top. I'm gonna let this wood season for probably a month, month and a half before I use it. You'll see the ends here start to check. They've already kind of started. You can see it on this piece of cherry right here. She's tarped, keep the rain off, let the wind blow through and dry it. We got this job done. We thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Keep working hard.